Hello, friends. Welcome to week 3 of Win From Within, your weight loss program. I am excited to step into this week's teaching concepts and to build upon the things that we covered in weeks 1 and 2. Let me pull up my slides and we will get moving right along. All right, friends. In doing a quick recap, I want to remind you to complete the short questions and submit your Google form before each coaching session. That allows me to take a quick glimpse as to how you're doing with the different concepts, how well they're working for you, and where we need to spend our time in discussing how you might improve them if there's some struggle. Additionally, when I'm able to look at this information in advance, then I can give you more time and attention when we come into our private one-on-one sessions to discuss other things that are on your mind and other things that you want to coach through. Now, I'm going to encourage you to continue with your food journaling practice and your food planning practice. These two activities are going to be a constant from this point forward for the rest of our 12-week session. Honor that protocol. Write down what you're going to be eating 24 hours in advance so that you eliminate the room for drama and you eliminate the room for mental negotiations, and it keeps you on track. I promise, pre-planning and deciding ahead of time are magic, and they will absolutely work to your good in supporting you in making those really fantastic food choices that are going to sustain you in the weight loss journey. Now, remember to lean on that compelling reason, which we've discussed in your private appointment. Partner that compelling reason with your constraint so that you can still feel highly motivated and feel that you are on track in looking forward toward a success and a win that will fuel you in going through the entire journey. Now, we reviewed the thought download, and this is an important practice to continue. That is the mental hygiene that we do for our brain. It is the way that we allow ourselves to decompress from those stories and from those belief systems that keep us stuck and stagnant in life. We discussed the model. We broke the model apart into the 5 different components, and we spent some time learning the difference between circumstances and thoughts. So this is a quick recap of what we have covered, and I want you to continue in the practices with all of these good weight management and thought management tools. Now, friends, in talking about constraint, I love these definitions that we see here on the screen that contrast the difference between failure and success. Constraint really means that we're just focusing our energy, we're focusing our time and attention in doing things very well and in a very disciplined way. The definition of failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Now, isn't that so true? If we make 1 or 2 poor choices every single day, that's going to lead us further away from our desired goal, our desired outcome, and that is failure. Now, on the other hand, success is represented by making a few simple disciplined practices every single day. And when we can be committed to really good habits and really good practices in a consistent way, then this has a cumulative effect in our lives and we get to feel a positive impact. We start gaining traction, we start seeing results, our self-esteem, our motivation increases, and we want to repeat this experience. When it comes to our decisions, I like to live by the belief that we own our decisions and live with the results. So be very thoughtful to the choices that you are making, because one small decision on the wrong side of the fence can lead you down into a negative spiral where you're feeling defeated, you're feeling overwhelmed, and you don't experience that belief in being able to achieve your goals. Likewise, one positive decision on the right side of the fence will up-level your belief, it will up-level your confidence, and reinforce your commitment to doing those things that are going to keep you on track in making progress. So it's very important that you watch those decisions and that you mind them and that you're attentive to them and that you're purposeful with your decisions. Now, friends, this week we're talking about self-improvement and really good self-care. The reason why we want to make change in our lives is because we have this inner prompting. We have this nudge or this itch that calls from within, and it asks us to show up in a better way for ourselves because we desire and long for growth and change. As human beings, we recognize that we have an abundance of potential, and this is what prompts us to show up in a better way for ourselves every single day and within specific areas of focus. You'll never regret investing in your own self-improvement. It's failing to explore your potential which causes regret and despair. So as you're focusing in on your weight loss goal and really focusing your time and attention in this way, remember there's a reason why you chose to get engaged in this space. There's something that's calling to you and asking you to show up in a better way. And this is truly because you believe that there is a possibility for change and you desire that change. So do what you can do to support that and add fuel behind that fire so you can experience success. Now, in making purposeful choices for good self-care, I want you to be reflective upon how often do you slow yourself down and give yourself the opportunity to just get in alignment with your own thoughts through some purposeful meditation. Even 5 to 10 minutes of meditation can really help to energize yourself and bring that energy level up and help you see the world in a more positive way. Likewise, are you practicing your thought downloads, which we learned in week 1? Are you practicing the model that we learned in week 2? These tools are going to partner with that meditation to really help you uncover and discover what's sitting underneath that desire for change. And we really want to tap into those inner thoughts and feelings so you can have beautiful new results. Another thing that you want to be thoughtful toward in good self-care is that you're choosing high quality foods so that you really feel your best and you can perform your best every single day. Likewise, do not underestimate the value of good sleep. Friends, we need at a minimum 7 hours of good sleep every single night. If we can get 8 or 9, that's even better. But when we're low on sleep, then our body works against us. We hold on to our fat reserves, our cravings increase, the clarity of mind is not there, and there's just so many struggles that come with a deprivation of sleep. So if you can add more sleep to your schedule, that's going to help to create more hormone regularity. It's going to improve your ability to make good, purposeful choices, and it's going to help you feel and operate at your very best. So do some reading on that if you need some additional reading to support good sleep choices. I've provided you with some reading within the workbook, but there is so much material out there that you can find simply by doing a Google search. So if you need to understand this point further, then take some initiative and make that happen. You will never regret putting more sleep and good self-care on your side. Everyone benefits when we choose to do that. Now, friends, this week with our weight loss strategy, we're going to be talking about the importance of hormones. The main point that I want you to learn this week is that hormones determine how much weight you carry on your body. You may not have heard this before, but it really is true. A lot of people believe that it's the amount of calories they're taking in or the amount of calories that they're expending through exercise. And oftentimes people don't even think about how their hormones and the hormone imbalances as a way of negatively impacting their weight. Now, when it comes to holding on to weight or losing weight, insulin is the most important hormone to understand. Okay, insulin is that regulator that helps our bodies either stay in a fat storage mode so that we're always either at this set point or we're going up with our weight. And insulin, likewise, is the hormone that allows us to step into the fat burning mode. When we bring our insulin down through purposeful choices and we allow our hormones to regulate, then our body naturally is going to tap into those fat reserves to draw on energy to support us in our day-to-day functions. The reading that's provided within your workbook does a really good job of going into a deep dive on the concept of insulin and why insulin is so important. So know there are a few other hormones that work together with insulin to impact our weight. But understanding the different components of the insulin and how we're either supporting or working against our insulin levels with our choices is very, very important. We're going to go into that here a little bit more in this teaching segment. But again, I want you to draw on the material that's in your workbook because it spells it out in a very clear fashion. And you're going to walk away from that part of the reading having a deeper understanding as to why you need to be choosing to engage with really high quality foods, why we need to eliminate sugar and flour, and why we're going to be practicing eating windows and fasting windows here in the near future. Now, the way that we can know if our hormones are out of balance are through a handful of signs, physical signs and manifestations that our hormones are not working for us and that our insulin is high. These pictures represent some of the most common ones that you could probably relate with. The first sign that we can see in an individual that signals that hormones are out of balance is the excess weight that is carried through the core, the middle of our body. When our insulin is high and the hormones are unregulated and we are not allowing our bodies to have time and opportunity to tap into our fat reserves, then we see that manifested through an abundance of weight in the middle, in the belly. That's a heavy belly that we see. And this is a telltale sign that your hormones are out of whack and that you also may be teetering into a space of being a diabetic. Another way that we know that the hormones are not properly regulated is because you are extra thirsty in your day. If you are thirsty all the time, and if you're urinating all the time, then your insulin is not being regulated in the way that it needs to be to serve you. Likewise, if you feel sluggish around 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you kind of get that fog brain that can come on where you really just can't think clearly and remember things well, then that's another sign that your hormones are out of balance. There are a few other telltale signs that you can look to found within the workbook to let you know if you're struggling with hormone imbalance, but these are some of the most common and some of the easiest ones to recognize. So take a moment and take some inventory on where you think your hormones are at and if they are or are not serving you because of your dietary choices. Now, the two biggest culprits that exist in keeping our insulin level high are sugar and flour. These two ingredients get consumed in extra high quantities, and they also have become very concentrated and very prevalent in all of the foods that we have within our supermarket. It is very hard to find foods, prepackaged foods, that are not high in sugar and flour. If you are not familiar with and comfortable in reading food labels, I would encourage you to start getting acquainted with this practice. There is a lot of sugar within ingredients such as pancake mix, muffin mix, granola bars, breakfast cereals, breads, jams, all of the things that we go to in order to support and feed our families. And sugar can be very cleverly disguised with a handful of different names. Here again, you can look in the workbook to identify how sugar gets labeled and identified with other names and with other labels and identifiers so that you really don't know that you're consuming sugar when you're out there buying your products. So sugar and flour get consumed far too often and in really, really high levels and concentrated quantities, which triggers our insulin and keeps our insulin high and prevents us from tapping into the fat reserves that are available to us and can serve us in losing weight and having a good amount of natural energy for our bodies. Now, the problem with this concentrated level of sugar and flour is that it's highly addictive. It triggers the dopamine receptors within our brain and creates an addiction and creates cravings that then trigger us to repeat bad experiences. Likewise, when we have lots of high levels of sugar and flour in our system, this supports the hormone imbalance and it supports us staying at a high body weight and, in fact, increasing our body weight. So, sugar and flour are really, really They're a negative component when it comes to the weight loss process. And this week, we're going to focus on eliminating sugar and flour from our diet. Now, I don't want you to freak out. I know that sounds a little bit overwhelming, but I'm telling you, friends, this is a key ingredient in making success and actually putting yourself on the path of weight loss. When we eliminate sugar and flour from our diet, then the insulin level will come down. We will naturally start to tap into our fat reserves, and we're going to shed those pounds quickly. Now, friends, I share this picture with you so that I can tell you a very interesting story. It wasn't long ago that our family went over to Peru, and we did a family trip, and we went up into the Andes Mountains, and we visited this small village. It was a weaving community that was made up of a dozen families. We had a really fantastic time and made so many happy memories. In advance of visiting this village, we had purchased some fruit chewy snacks. You know, those little fruit snacks that you give your toddlers and you give your 5 and 6-year-olds as a way of keeping them happy when you're on a road trip, or you put them in their sack lunch for school. We had taken an entire box of these fruit snacks to this village and wanted to share an American treat with these cute, cute kids. Now, when we arrived and we handed out these fruit chewy snacks, these kids and the adults simply looked at the packaging and didn't even know what to do with it. They handled it as if it was a toy. They did not know to open the package and that there would be a food product inside. These people draw on their natural resources. These people have a very simple and clean diet. They're eating potatoes and carrots and other vegetables such as zucchini and squash. They're eating meat such as llama and alpaca, and they really don't have sugar and flour available to them within their diet. And so, interestingly enough, as we were visiting with these people and mingling and spending time together, you know what? They also don't struggle with being overweight. And I made a mental note immediately. I was like, their diet doesn't have the same level of sugar and flour that we do here in the States. And as a result, these individuals don't struggle with their weight. Now, once we got the okay from the moms in the group, and they told us it would be fine for us to share this treat, we made it a point to open these packages and start handing out these sweet little treats to these kids. And I tell you, you would have thought it was Christmas Day. Their eyes lit up like so bright, and their eyes were so big, and they were filled with excitement because they were tasting something that was triggering their brain. It was triggering those dopamine receptors, and they were excited. They had an immediate rush with bringing that sugar on board into their systems, and they loved it. There was an immediate love affair with these fruit chewy snacks, and we actually had to kind of hold them back and let the moms take over in the village in how they wanted to allow their kids to receive and eat and consume all of these yummy treats. Remember, we had brought an entire box, and surely giving them an entire box of fruit chewy snacks was not going to be a really great choice. But these kids aren't exposed to the same levels of sugar and flour that we are here in the States. And so this truly was an indulgent experience. This truly was a treat, and they were happy. Friends, we are not much different than these children when we take sugar in. We love the response that it brings to our bodies. We love being triggered and having that sensation of pleasure. And we love feeling that rush that can come. The downside is, as you know, that with sugar and flour, the satisfaction is very temporary. And right behind the satisfaction comes the crash. And then once the crash occurs, our body seeks for more. Our body tells us that we want more of this really delicious substance. And it doesn't know the difference between this ingredient of sugar and flour, whether it serves us well or if it's working against us. Sugar and flour are really, really negative foods to be consuming within our system. There's a whole list of negative impacts that we experience with sugar and flour. And again, I'm going to direct you to your workbook to do more reading on those negative byproducts that we experience when that's in our system in high quantities and on a regular basis. Now, friends, as you are looking to eliminate sugar and flour from your diet, know that you're going to experience some discomfort. You may have a headache for a few days. You may feel tired for a few days. You may have some physical body aches, head to toe, for a few days. This is because your body is detoxing. If you're used to having sugar in your diet on a regular basis and you take this out of your diet, your body is going to experience the effect and it will be uncomfortable for a few days. Know that this will pass. Know that the negative impact and the negative physiological response that you're experiencing is just temporary. You will survive. I absolutely promise you. One way that you can really help yourself through the process is to lean on those healthy, good self-care habits that we've discussed. Know you're going to feel uncomfortable. You can expect this, but make your decision ahead of time that you can push through this discomfort. You can push through those urges and know that they are temporary. More often than not, when we have a craving or we have an urge, it kind of comes over on us. It comes into our space like a big wave in the ocean. It takes over us and it can consume us in a really big way and immediately in a very quick and fast and like all-consuming kind of way. Likewise, once it's here, it's also going to dissipate and it's going to fade and it's going to fade down and trickle off and trickle away. So you need to just sit with that and allow that to be present. Do some journaling during that time. Go for a glass of water. Purposefully choose a more engaging activity such as engaging with one of your kids and maybe doing a project with one of your kids so that your mind is occupied. Make it a point to go for a walk. Walk down to the end of your block and come back, knowing that this urge and this discomfort will pass. Our urges usually don't stay with us for longer than 10 minutes. And if you know that you can make it for 10 minutes, each time you have that repeated experience of success, pretty soon the urges and the cravings are going to disappear and eventually they will no longer exist. So friends, use your thought work. Have a glass of water. Plan to meditate. Have some go-to activities for distraction if needed. And here's a really good idea that you consider as well. Allow it to be there. Call it by name. Recognize it. Process it. Talk to yourself about how you can manage this urge. It's just a feeling. It won't kill you to push through this urge and endure this urge. And speak to yourself in a very kind and comforting way so that you know you can do what is in your best interest. All right, friends.